troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted by it. I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. It's been said, and I do believe, as you ask, so shall you receive. So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet release, where the river will never run dry. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. I'm gonna let myself be lifted by it. I will lay my troubles down by the water,
Welcome, all souls, to our Kwanzaa-inspired worship service this morning. I am grateful that I am part of a faith community where we are curious and as respectful as we can be to sources of wisdom not originally our own. Kwanzaa somewhat fits into this category because there is a history on a larger scale between Unitarian Universalism and Kwanzaa. In the 1960s, the Black Unitarian Universalist Caucus and the Black Affairs Council, funded by the UUA, worked on advocating a Black value system, which became the basis for the Kwanzaa principles. In short, the relationship Unitarian Universalism has to Kwanzaa is both direct and indirect. Direct in that Black Unitarian Universalists were among the early and first practitioners of Kwanzaa, and they educated people all over about it. Indirect in that the staff doing this work was funded by the UUA. Please look at the comment box for a link to where you can learn more about this Unitarian Universalist and Kwanzaa connection. One connection I'll share is with our principles. The 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism share a number of similarities with the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Themes of justice, dignity, democracy, respect, interdependence, and unity are shared. Differences I see is that the UU principles focus not so much on the family unit, but a single unit of one person. And then our UU principles jump to the larger world community. There is no mention of family from my perspective. I appreciate the high regard for the family unit that Kwanzaa gives me. My UU principles teach me about justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, whereas Kwanzaa teaches me about justice, equity, and compassion in relations around community economics. This Kwanzaa, I am reminded that the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all starts in the primary family unit. Kwanzaa also reminds me that when I search for truth and meaning, the truth can hurt. The truth can be so erased by those in power that it is not free. There's a cost, a price to pay for the truth. And yet, as it said in John 8:32, verse 32 of the Bible, the truth will set us free. This Sunday, we will hear from fellow congregation members about their truths on Kwanzaa. As a community, we will explore it together. Come, let us worship together.
Kwanzaa is a special and unique time in Pan-African space to recommit ourselves to our highest values that teach us to live our lives, do our work, and wage our struggles in dignity-affirming, life-enhancing, and world-preserving ways as we continue forward on the upward path of our honored ancestors.
This is the first of the 7 days of Kwanzaa, when we light the central candle in the Kwanzaa candelabra called a kinara. That central black candle represents the unity of the people of the African diaspora.
Good morning, All Souls. I'm Gary Penn, the church's membership manager, and I've been asked to introduce our first hymn this morning. This past fall, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, an organization formed to fight for the freedom and empowerment of Black people, celebrated its 60th anniversary. Actually, its 61st, as the event was delayed for a year. And as part of the celebration, SNCC's leadership asked Jen Heyman, William Kenlin, and me to create a series of virtual choir videos in which some of the original freedom singers, who were an integral part of the civil rights movement, sang some of their protest songs. And we'll hear two of those today as our opening and closing hymns. So here's Chuck Neblett and the Freedom Singers leading us in Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Round.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. This is a song we would sing, especially we was on demonstrations and we were gonna meet the Klan, we were gonna meet billy clubs, we were gonna meet the police, anybody was gonna stop us. We would sing this song, Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom. Don't you let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Don't you let nobody turn you around. You gotta keep on walking, you gotta keep on talking, marching up to freedom. Don't you let no jailhouse turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let no jailhouse turn you around. You gotta keep on walking, you gotta keep on talking, marching up to freedom. Don't you let injustice turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let injustice turn you around. You gotta keep on walking, you gotta keep on talking, marching up to freedom. Don't you let no dogs turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. Don't you let no dogs turn you around. You gotta keep on walking, you gotta keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
Good morning and welcome to All Souls Church. Welcome to a community where our search for spirituality and our passion for justice meet and mingle, where our head and our heart are divided no more, where reverence for the earth and belief in the dignity of every person inform our ethics, where music is an expression of our joy, prayer a sign of our faith, and acts of justice a symbol of our hope. My name is Tim Rhodes. I am a member of the Black Souls group here at All Souls Church. Today, I am also your worship associate. My pronouns are he, him. We extend a special greeting to those joining us for the first time and those who have continued to attend weekly. Although the building has been closed, church programs have never stopped. Our weekly email bulletin is the best way to find out the latest news. You can sign up through the link posted in the chat or visit All Souls website. It is important to recognize the people who lived on the land where our physical church now stands. We acknowledge that indigenous people were here before us, are here with us now, and will continue to be with us as we look to the future. This is now the time when we behold one another virtually on Zoom. So let's take time now to greet and behold one another.
This is a 1963 reading by Max Warren, an Anglican vicar and missionary, entitled Approaching Another People Culture. Our first task in approaching another people, another culture, is to take off our shoes. For the place we are approaching is holy, else we find ourselves treading on another's dream. More serious still, we may forget that God was there before our arrival.
To be young, gifted, and black. Oh, what a lovely, precious dream. To be young, gifted, and black. Open your heart to what I mean. 'Cause you know, in this whole wide world, there are millions, a million boys and girls who are young, gifted, and black. Well, you know that's a fact. To be young, gifted, and black. We must begin to tell our young. Well, haven't you heard? There's a whole world waiting for you. Oh, your quest has just begun.
Some announcements and concerns for us this morning. The Black Souls will be gathering for a private Kwanzaa ceremony on Saturday, January 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern. All Black, African descendant, multiracial folks are invited. Please contact Janice View if you wish to join. You'll see her email in the chat. The celebration of life for Peter Saylor will be held on Sunday, January 16th at 2 p.m. This is a Zoom memorial, and the link will be on the All Souls homepage calendar closer to that date. The story of the week in congregational care is, of course, COVID. Sending blessings and prayers to all those impacted this week by positive tests, recalculated plans, and the letting go of cherished intentions, which would be every one of us. We particularly send love to all those spending the holidays solo, as plans for so many gatherings changed. Our healing wishes to Michaeline Guy Pauli, who came through brain surgery well this week. We rejoice that her tumor was benign and send love to husband Mike Hill and daughter Lucy as well. They're spending the holiday at the hospital and would love to receive cards and photos of Christmas lights.
For all those joys and concerns, named and unnamed, we hold in our hearts this day. The following is called a prayer for Kwanzaa by Reverend Ade Ama Kraba, a Unitarian Universalist minister. Oh, come, all you faithful, rejoicing and victorious. Come, let us embrace the mystery and the spirit of life as we celebrate in heritage. Come and give thanks for companions on the journey and the struggle for freedom and justice. Our roots in the soil and soul of Mother Africa reach far and wide. Creator of all, lead us to be true to our nature with respect and dignity for life, from conception to its natural end at death. Bless and keep us in solidarity, one to another. Ashe.
Hey, bro, where are you going?
Oh, hey, Lee. I'm heading over to the community center to set up for Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa? What is that?
Kwanzaa celebrates African American community, family, and culture.
Interesting. So, is it a celebration that comes from Africa?
No, bro. Kwanzaa didn't come from any of the countries from the continent of Africa. A lot of people think it is an African Christmas, but it is not. It was introduced to America in 1966 by Dr. Malana Karenga as a way to welcome the first harvest home here in America.
So, when is Kwanzaa celebrated?
It is celebrated every year from December 26th through January 1st.
Kwanzaa's a pretty cool name. I wonder how they came up with it.
The word Kwanzaa is a key Swahili word that means the first, and it represents the first fruits of harvest.
So how do you celebrate Kwanzaa?
With Kwanzaa, there are 7 key principles that are observed during that time. Each day of Kwanzaa, it emphasizes a different principle.
7 principles, huh? That is cool. What are they?
There is Umoja, meaning unity. Kujicha Gulia, which stands for self-determination. Ujima, which stands for collective work and responsibility, building and maintaining our communities as brothers and sisters. Ujama, for building and maintaining the African American stores and businesses. Nia, which means purpose. Kuumba, meaning creativity. And Imani, meaning faith in our hearts and people.
So at Christmas time, it's Christmas trees and stuff like that. Are there any symbols for Kwanzaa?
When decorating for Kwanzaa, the main colors are red, black, and green. Just like there are 7 principles, there are 7 symbols. There is Kikombe Cha Umoja, meaning the unity cup. A Kanara, meaning the candle holder, which holds 7 candles. Mazao, meaning fruits, nuts, and vegetables, reminding those who celebrate of the harvest. Mishuma Saba, meaning the 7 candles that represent the 7 principles. Mkeka, meaning a mat which is made up of straw or African cloth. There is also the Vabunzi, meaning ear of corn, where 1 ear of corn is placed on the mkeka for every child that is at the celebration. There's also Zawadi, meaning gifts that are traditionally given on January 1st.
Man, I would have never known all the cool things and fun facts about Kwanzaa for kids. Thanks for letting me know about this African American holiday.
And I hope you had fun learning with FRESBERG cartoon.
Hi, I'm Janice View. In the original conception of Imani, faith refers to a belief with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. It refers to a belief that the accumulated principles of Kwanzaa, unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, and creativity would guide Black people and Black communities to freedom and to justice. I also understand faith to mean the intersection of my chosen faith community, Unitarian Universalism, a largely white denomination, with my many identities, which include being Black and a cisgendered woman. Christina Leone Tracy, a white woman Unitarian Universalist minister, refers to church as a place where people come showing up wearing bibs and or aprons. Bibs for those who need to be fed, who are feeling vulnerable, who need to be held. And aprons for those who are primed to build, to feed others, to offer service. On a given day, we can wear both a bib and an apron and expect our faith community to offer opportunities for healing, especially through our mutual holding of one another. At All Souls, I witnessed the intersection of Unitarian Universalism with my Black womanness and feel part of a rich faith community through the existence of the Black Men's Group and Black Souls, the leadership of Tracy Hughes Trotter, the gifts of our staff, singers and musicians, and the research of Barbara Corprew into the long history of Black members of this congregation, including Black members of the Board of Trustees. In those places I feel held, I have faith that freedom and justice for Black people are possible because of the active expressions of Black joy and power. Other aspects of church life can feel performative, or as if my only role as a Black UU woman is to wear a perpetual apron in service to the spiritual redemption of others. Performance is often a necessary path to embodiment. We see that in ritual, in prayer, in self-talk over and over and over before we can come to inhabit a new way of being. It is why yoga is called a practice. So I will keep asserting my inherent worth and dignity and that of other Black Unitarian Universalists so that we can expect to be able to wear a bib, an apron, a hijab, a kufi cap, a do-rag, whatever, as part of a personal faith commitment. And I will encourage our collective performances of the eighth principle until we embody spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Expecting my faith community to address all of me, even as I struggle to meet the demands of my faith and of the Nguzo Saba, are what Imani means to me.
Wealth accumulation has been very difficult for the Black community, and even more so for Black farmers. The 4 million Blacks who left slavery left with not much more than the clothes on their backs. However, with help from religious institutions, some bankers and others of goodwill, by 1920, 1 million Black farmers were able to accumulate 16 million acres of land. However, because of discrimination by state and local governments, primarily in the South, and discrimination by the Department of Agriculture, at the present time, there's only about 38,000 of that million Black farmers left. And the land has dwindled from 16 to about 4 million acres. There have been a number of studies as to how we got there and what needs to be done to correct the problems. And there's been a few efforts to correct the problem. In 1999, the Pigfoot lawsuit was designed to provide some compensation, debt relief, and priority for future programs to Black farmers. That program was poorly implemented. And at the end of the day, 16,000 Black farmers received compensation. However, only 371 received partial debt relief, and less than 100 received priority for future programs. Another effort was made with the American Rescue Plan to forgive USDA debt for Black farmers. However, the Secretary of Agriculture was slow in implementing that program, and white farmers filed a lawsuit to halt implementation of that program. An effort is now being made to include debt relief in the Build Back Better bill that's passed the House and is at the Senate. However, the Build Back Better plan will not be as good for Black farmers as the American Rescue Plan, and that some Black farmers with debt with USDA will not have it forgiven. So over the last 100 years, billions of dollars have been lost in the Black community as a result of discrimination and racism.
All that we touch is more beautiful. All that we touch is more beautiful. All that we touch is more beautiful. That's Bernice Johnson Reagan's distillation of the seventh principle of Kwanzaa, creativity. The original goes on and urges us to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. To talk about leaving our community more beautiful and beneficial, there is no better place to begin than in a barber shop. In African American communities, a barber shop is a crossroads where both physical beauty and social cohesion are nurtured, places to rejuvenate and reaffirm our humanity away from the onslaught of racial oppression and distresses imposed by this larger society. While planning a celebration of his deceased father's birthday, social worker Joshua S. Lee discovered that his own brother remained angry and restimulated, and his brother refused to participate even 20 years after the father's death. Thinking of all the different distresses and traumas members of the community carried and dealt with, Mr. Lee set out to develop an intervention that would give folks a safe place to talk about them. He decided to hold these conversations in barbershops. In one session, Mr. Lee engaged regular patrons of the barbershop in a discussion around a community tragedy in which a father had killed his two sons, then himself in a murder-suicide. At the end of the session, to give people an opportunity to make closing remarks, he placed two empty chairs at the middle of the shop. One of the chairs was for whomever wanted to sit in it. The other chair was for them to imagine a person or an inanimate object that the participant wanted to say something to. In modeling the process, Mr. Lee placed his late father in the chair. He thanked his father for giving him life. Then he forgave his father for making it a rough life. Suddenly, a young male participant stepped forward and sat down and said, "God is in the empty chair." He continued, "I thank you, God, for saving me from childhood sexual abuse. I thank you for delivering me from drugs and alcohol and incarceration and all the violence. And most importantly, God, I thank you for directing my path to this barber shop this morning because I did not set out to come this way. I don't know why I actually came here today." Another barbershop patron stopped him in mid-sentence and said, "I know why. You needed to liberate others with your story." And then he gave the young man a heartfelt embrace. At its best, the practice, discipline, and habit of creating beauty, Kuumba, is a way of ordering our mind, ordering our thought, so that we are able to focus our attention on our liberation and resistance, rather than reacting out of distress and trauma. And more importantly, so that the distress and trauma doesn't keep us isolated from each other's presence and strength. All that we touch is more beautiful. All that we touch is more beautiful. All that we touch is more beautiful.
Thank you, Janice, Lloyd, and Gregory for those moving personal testimonials. Well, All Souls, here we are. Happy Kwanzaa. Planning this year's service has been an adventure in discovery. Between working with All Souls staff, the Black Souls, and the Black Men's Group, I've come to understand the tensions and truths around what celebrating Kwanzaa means in a predominantly white faith denomination in this multicultural church. Although All Souls has celebrated Kwanzaa for many years, I'm wondering if many of you know what it means and why it's so important. Kwanzaa began 55 years ago when Dr. Malana Krenga founded Kwanzaa during the Black Freedom Movement of the 1960s. In his own words, he says, "The conception and practice of Kwanzaa is rooted in both ancient African harvest celebrations and the Black Freedom Movement, and thus it calls for and urges an active and ongoing commitment to African and human good and the well-being of the world. The crisis and challenge are not only the daily and destructive assaults on the earth and its ecosystems, its soil, fields, forests, waters, and waterways, its air and atmosphere, its animals and their habitats, and the resultant disease and devastation, but also the domination, deprivation, and degradation of humans themselves by systems of interrelated oppression." As a Unitarian Universalist, all of this are things that matter deeply to me. Dr. Krenga goes on to say, "For in such a context of devastation and oppression, there is no real and reliable remedy except resistance and serious and sustained struggle dedicated to African and human good and the well-being of the world and all in it." When Krenga wrote this, he didn't leave us hanging. He created Kwanzaa as a part of the solution. Kwanzaa is practiced first within the family unit and then with the larger community. Though Kwanzaa is celebrated over a week, it's meant to be practiced year-round. At its core, I understand Kwanzaa to be a mindset or a reset of a colonized mind back to our roots. The Kwanzaa mindset is that we are all stronger and safer when we are united, that we must continue to fight for and claim our right for self-determination. We can and should speak for ourselves. Kwanzaa reminds us to build and maintain our community together by solving our problems together. My problems are your problems and vice versa. Historically, Black people have been successfully pitted against one another. Kwanzaa reminds us to stop that nonsense. Stop the house slave versus the field slave. Light skin, dark skin, educated, uneducated, poor, prosperous. Infighting between any group of oppressed people only helps the oppressor. If a Kwanzaa mindset keeps our eyes on the prize together in community, Kwanzaa charges us with cooperative economics, which means building and maintaining our own stores, shops, and other businesses to profit from together. Having independence and prosperity is powerful, powerful. We should not forget the lessons learned from the thriving Black business community known as the Black Wall Street in the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Racist white riders bludgeoned Black people in their own homes. Make no mistake, prosperity is a threat to white supremacy. The first major protest against racial oppression began in the 1960s with the Montgomery bus boycott. From sit-ins to Bloody Sunday, by the end, voting rights legislation was passed, and much was done to raise awareness around the disenfranchisement of Blacks in many areas, such as housing, jobs, and discriminatory government policies. And there is still so much work to do. This year, 2021, this year was unprecedented, where 19 states enacted 33 laws to make it harder for Americans to vote. Black bodies continue to be disproportionately imprisoned in corporate-run for-profit facilities where prison labor exploits people. 6% of incarcerated people assigned to work for state-owned businesses earn between 33 cents and $1.41 per hour on average. The rest earn roughly twice as less than that to people assigned to just regular prison jobs. For Black bodies not in prison, we can get shot by police in our own homes, minding our own business, or chased down and murdered for taking a jog while being Black. The struggle continues. As I mentioned earlier, the Kwanzaa mindset says that if we start with the family unit, This is important because the family unit in the Black community is not to be taken for granted. During enslavement, Black families could and were often torn away at any time for profit. In 2021, many Black families are torn apart by community and state-sanctioned violence, imprisonment, drug abuse caused by self-medication, health challenges from the stress of living while Black. The same problems that were the catalyst for creating Kwanzaa back then continue to be the catalyst for maintaining it today. In celebrating Kwanzaa, we take pride in our traditional greatness. We are charged with leaving our community more beautiful than we inherited it. We are to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. This year, may we celebrate the mindset of community, pride, hope, and faithfulness. This year, may we embody the Kwanzaa mindset. Amen.
The taking of an offering, which some Unitarian Universalist congregations call sharing in stewardship, is a time to lift up the collective responsibility toward the common good. Every week in our church, we take up an offering, and going online has not stopped that practice. We take up an offering to ask you to offer something of yourself to this common endeavor we call church. We take up this offering because giving is a spiritual practice and does our heart good. We take up an offering to support not only the staff, the building, and the programs of All Souls, but the values we name as critical to creating and sustaining what we call beloved community. You may click the link in the chat, which will direct you to All Souls online giving. Thank you in advance for your generosity.
After the Freedom Rides, people were locked up in Parchman Penitentiary. What they did, they separated the Blacks from the whites. So a lot of white kids came down there. And we hollered across the cells and to the whites and said, "How y'all doing?" And one of the white kids started singing, "Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom." So our next song is going to be, "Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom."
I woke up this morning with my mind.
My mind was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Stay no
walking and talking with my mind. State of freedom. Lord, I'm walking and talking with my mind. State of freedom. Hallelujah. 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 Come on and walk. Yeah. Walk with your mind. Hey, hey. Walk. Well, now, you better talk about it with your mind. Hey, talk, yeah. Well, now, talk, yeah. 'Cause it ain't no harm to keep your mind. Stay on freedom. No, it ain't no harm to keep your mind. Stay on freedom. Lord, it ain't no harm to keep your mind. Stay on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
That music's just beautiful. To quote from Rosa Parks, stand for something or you will fall for anything. Today's mighty oak is yesterday's nut that held its ground. Until we are together again, may we be sustained and empowered by the spirit of life. May we hold our ground against injustice and hate. May we be the light of love.
We extinguish the light of the Kinara candle now, but Kwanzaa continues for another 6 days, when the lights of the other candles will be added. And all of those lights continue to warm us as we move throughout the year and aspire to bring the truth of the Kwanzaa principles to life in our lives.
Thank you.